First side effects, now Stoker. Is this the year of the Hitchcock homage? You're watching Beyond the Trailer's review of Stoker.
Richard Stoker was a family man, taken from us by a cruel twist of fate, the reasons for which are unknown.
India, come and say hello to your Uncle Charlie.
Hello, India.
I'm curious about what happened to my father.
Yes, Hitchcock is very much back in style this year, but Stoker goes one step further as a mashup of trends. Hitchcock meets the South Korean invasion. It started with Psy's Gangnam Style and now continues with the English-language debut of South Korean director Park Chan-wook. Park made himself known to cinephiles worldwide with his Vengeance trilogy, and now he's looking to catch the interest of the mainstream. And what better project to do it with than Wentworth Miller's 2010 Blacklist script Stoker, which was inspired by Hitchcock's Shadow of a Doubt. Uncle Charlie meet Uncle Charlie. Park has also been inspired by Hitchcock, deciding to become a director after watching Vertigo. Even more so, he's cast Nicole Kidman as one of his leading ladies in Stoker, and Kidman has just wrapped Grace of Monaco, the biopic of Hitchcock's favorite blonde, Grace Kelly. You'll be hearing plenty about that film at the end of this year, as it's one of Harvey Weinstein's next crop of Oscar contenders. Like Stoker, Grace of Monaco has also earned a spot on the Blacklist, which is the annual list of the best unproduced screenplays in Tinseltown. Stoker also stars Mia Wasikowska as a teenager suspicious of her uncle, but unlike in Shadow of a Doubt, this teenager seems to guard her own secrets. Wasikowska's look in the film is likely a nod to Miller's other inspiration for the script, Bram Stoker's Dracula, drawing not on the blood-sucking but the gothic horror. Both Kidman and Wasikowska have starred in big studio blockbusters, but both now seem to be focusing on these smaller indie flicks. That's a smart move for Kidman, who's found it difficult to maintain a mainstream career, and it was these quirkier pictures that first put her on the map. But with Wasikowska, she isn't getting the same accolades that Kidman has been getting, which are crucial when one decides not to prioritize their box office track record. As for Matthew Goode, he actually wasn't Park's first choice, Colin Firth was. But when Firth had a scheduling conflict, his A Single Man co-star won the role. Goode tried to follow in the footsteps of Hugh Grant when he first came onto the Hollywood scene almost a decade ago, but is perhaps most famous for his turn in Zack Snyder's adaptation of Watchmen. Will he score as a villain once more? Let's go find out. Alright, so a few of you have requested for the return of the BTT Crew review, and today's the day with Stoker.
I was a bit disappointed by Stoker. I was expecting it to be something else. Honestly, the trailer made it look a lot better than the actual movie.
I feel like the whole movie is just incredibly underdeveloped. Characters kind of make really bizarre choices. It leaves a little too much to the audience, I think, to ponder over things that they give you no material to actually do any worthwhile pondering about.
I think the most confusing thing for me about this movie is that Wentworth Miller's script was on the Blacklist when I felt the script was the weakest part of the movie. And this is like a trend that I'm noticing in Hollywood with like Damien Lindelof and stuff, where I feel screenwriters pose questions that they think are interesting and will make their script seem intelligent, but they don't do the work to figure out the answers. And that's not good screenwriting. A good screenwriter knows the answers to every question posed in their work. That way you can connect all the dots and make it seem like a cohesive piece.
I did think it was supposed to be kind of a mystery thriller, and normally with those kinds of movies, it's you could attach to them a tagline, everything is not as it seems. But in this movie, everything is kind of exactly what it seems like. Also,
I have to say that I was promised a pretty sexy movie and a pretty twisted movie, and I think at the end of the day it wasn't particularly sexy or twisted. So it never went there. And I think that's kind of what Stoker is really advertising itself as, the movie that goes there. But if you're not going to go there, it just is a letdown.
I thought Matthew Goode was perfectly cast because if anything else, the villain is the person who changes the least in a movie. So the lack of progression in terms of characters didn't really bother me. And I thought also his self-confidence and that perfect smirk that he always had helped to bring more weight to his character.
He reminded me a little bit of Gregory Peck, actually. So it was cool to see the Hitchcockian thing, but I feel like it was more like a Hitchcockian fan fiction because it just didn't measure up. It was like someone had all the, saw the great things that Hitchcock did and just kind of ripped them off, and we're like, we could do the same thing, but without any of the character motivations or any of the the real depth or substance that Hitchcock would put into his films.
I think Stoker could be worth watching. I think for the visuals are very impressive, although I've never seen a film from this director before. So that's why it was a visual treat for me. If you've seen the Vengeance trilogy, this might be just more of the same, and so maybe not worth your time.
I felt that the visuals in this movie didn't really compare to his previous efforts. I felt that his mastery of the camera and of the details in the background were just not comparable at all.
The film does stick with you, though, because it's so hypnotic visually, and I think the performances are interesting. It actually reminded me a lot of an old film, I think from the 60s or 70s, called The Servant from the UK, which also is kind of more out there. I think The Servant, though, was a better script and had more of a clear message about it, but both films are very experimental and beautiful to look at, and I think hypnotic. So that's the correlation I would draw here.
I think that to go out of your way to see this kind of film, which is only playing in like a few theaters, it's not really worth it. It kind of puts itself out there as an art film, but it's not really.
I wasn't angry that I saw this movie. I didn't leave the theater being like, I want my money back or something like that. I just felt that it was very weak, and it kind of just passes through. It's like water.
Overall, I would give this movie a 6.5.
Overall, I would give this a 4.
I would give it a 3.5.
So at least with us, Park Chan-wook doesn't make as an impressive a stateside debut as Psy, with us overall giving Stoker a 4.5. I'm Grace Randolph reporting from Regal Ewok, and I hope we'll go beyond the trailer for these other top movies.